So, Meek, I'm sure you've seen it. What are the...
He's like, I have my emotional support Titus with me. Comboed on Pooply 9 was like the best game. Darktide, I DM'd a Darktide camp.
Nightbot. Welcome to my channel. Streamlaments. Welcome to my channel.
Yesterday they posted an interview with the game director, Mikhail Eriksson, and people seem pretty positive about this interview. However, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. So, you know, even though I know people seem to be pretty positive about it, like 7,000 likes, only 400 dislikes, I just figured I'd give my 2 cents on what I took from this interview. If you end up not agreeing with me, it is what it is. I feel like this is going to be an unpopular video anyway. But with that being said, first thing I would say that, you know, the majority of people only really care about the performance right now because the performance of the game is in a pretty sad spot. And they only talked about it for the first 3 minutes of the video. They didn't give many details. Pretty much the only thing he said that was relevant was that they are pushing back their next content patch, which is something I asked for and I pointed out multiple times. So I am happy with that statement. I do think, like, you know, my dissatisfaction that only the first 3 minutes of this interview was about performance is more so just like a timing thing. Like, maybe this interview could have came out later, but like I would really like to see like in-depth, like technical articles of what's going on with the game. Kind of like they did with the SDDs and the HDDs. They did a poll in the main Discord of what people want to hear about next, and most people voted on the engine. So I would actually like to see some technical articles, even though I have no idea about any of that stuff, but I would be happy to read through it and look up some stuff. So I do think it's just like a timing thing why I'm like a little bit dissatisfied. With that being said, they said a lot of other things in here, talking about the game director's play style, and also Warbond design philosophy, and then also their message to the community at the end. So I kind of want to comment on these parts.
Now, is when you're playing, what's your play style? What are you doing? How do you like to get involved?
Yeah, so if we ask our players, hey, how do you like to play? What makes you excited? What makes you tick? Like, what sort of goals do you have? What do you think is missing from the game? And you know, what do you think we do well? What do you think we do poorly, and so forth? Players tend to give very different answers because, of course, players have different needs and they play for different reasons. So I'm also part of one of these player profiles, you could say, like types of players. So we have, you know, people have seen Niklas and Lennart on video talking about balance updates, for example. They're part of the crew, even they're not this simple, of course, but they're part of the crew that are very interested in, you know, the technical aspects and like specifics, and that's great because they can make sure that the players who care about this a lot, they get what they need. That's perfect. But for me, I am more of the type of person that basically living through different sorts of fantasies. That's what makes me tick. So when we do war bonds, for example, what we try to do with war bonds, okay, I'm throwing in many things here now, but what we try to do with war bonds is we try to sell a fantasy. You know, you get to feel like this, you know, type of person when you play, right? It's not a we're not thinking about like a power fantasy or like, oh, this weapon will be much better than every weapon that.
So the first comment on they're not trying to sell a power fantasy, we are definitely going to comment on that later, but let's hear the rest of what he says.
That you tested before. That's not the primary thing that we think about. First, we start with what's the fantasy. You know, what sort of movie trope are we trying to sell, for example, or what other type of trope are we selling? And I really enjoy that. So I like to play in many different kind of ways, like playing stealthy ways, playing, you know, more berserker brute ways. That's what makes me tick, and I also really enjoy helping put together these like pivotal moments where everything is just work together as like a crescendo in an orchestra, where you have enemies of different kinds and missions and environments and war bonds and all this, like work together to set the stage pretty much for players to just act things out. That's what really makes me tick, and this is what I'm super passionate about.
Now, he says he likes to set the stage for players to act things out, and it's like, bro, I feel like this statement is wild. Because he mentioned stealth, for example, and I'm going to bring up a couple of other examples in war bonds that they've made and didn't really deliver on gameplay-wise. But why does it seem like they're selling a fantasy for me to go act like I'm stealthy? Because let's go ahead and pull up the audible sound radius. So in the Halo Warbond, they had silencers. Did you know that the M7S, which is the submachine gun, has a 33-meter audible range? So when you shoot the SMG with the silencer on it, it makes noise like 33 meters away. You know what else makes noise 33 meters away? The Pummeler, the Defender, the Reprimand, the Staw, the Knight, the Torture, the Peacemaker, the Redeemer, the Verdict, the Senator, the Warrant, the Silenced Pistol, also 33 meters. I didn't even realize the Bushwhacker is apparently a stealthy weapon. So this is why my thumbnail is, we want to sell you a fantasy, we just don't want to put it in the gameplay. Because how are you gonna sell me a fantasy to go play out a trope, but like, it's just all in my head? I'm supposed to just pretend like I'm being stealthy when it's not being represented in the gameplay at all, and I feel like that doesn't make sense. Now, you know, some people could say like, oh, the silencers, it's bugged, it's accidentally the same sound. Okay, fine. Well, what about the stim pistol? Because they made the stim pistol have weaker stims than normal stims. It has ammo, it has slow reload speed, it has a ridiculous amount of sway. When they first launched it, it had a ridiculous amount of spread. One of the devs commented that if they made the stim pistol able to shoot yourself and stim yourself, or if they gave it auto aim, they still think it wouldn't be good and it wouldn't be meta. So then why not do that? Why not give me the option with an auto aim stim pistol to be able to stim my teammates better in more clutch situations? Why not actually give me the gameplay incentive to be a medic? Now, the other thing as well was posts like these. This was a post about the Super Earth flag when it first came out, and someone said, I'm just saying nearly 7K of you wanted this a year ago. Now, keep in mind this was 5 months ago, and they linked a Reddit post from a year ago with 7K upvotes of the Super Earth flag. Hey, I have that post right here. 2 years ago, make the Super Earth flag a support stratagem. Do you want to know what the top comment on this post is? If it was made into a stratagem, it should boost morale and stats like movement speed, armor, reload speed, etc. of nearby Helldivers, allow you to carry it on your back, or plant it into the ground. Why aren't they putting any of this stuff in the gameplay? And I remember discussing with the community when the flag came out, tons of people were just defending it for no reason, and I feel that this is a case of just toxic positivity within the community. Everybody who defended the Super Earth flag doing nothing, all of you people would love if it did something. Because if the Super Earth flag genuinely had a good morale boost effect to the point where it's like I'm planting a flag and then all 4 of us are huddling together with stalwarts because it gives us like boosted fire rate, for example. Everybody would love that, bro, because the actual like fantasy would be translated into gameplay. So, oh, and then we have to go back to the power fantasy part. Why is the game director saying 2 years into the game, we're not trying to sell a power fantasy? Because I've been playing the game basically since launch, and I lived through Escalation of Freedom, and I remember all the Reddit posts pointing out that the back of the box says spread democracy with overpowered weapons. I'm not necessarily asking for overpowered weapons, okay? I'm just pointing this out, that this was a large piece of feedback that they acknowledged from within the community, and then here we are a year after the 60-day plan, and it was unfortunately just a complete sham, because they just, like, took that feedback, you know, they did the 60-day plan, and then after that, they were like, okay, we gave you the crossbow, we gave you the eruptor, that's it, we're never making that again. Like, it just feels like a concession at this point in hindsight, and they just don't do it anymore. So it's like, I never made these Reddit posts asking for this. I'm not saying I'd, like, you know, and people always try to comment like, oh, you just want a one-shot a Bile-Titan with a Liberator. No, the Liberator had 5 durable damage or 7 or like some low durable damage on launch. I just wanted it to be better. I just wanted it to be usable. But I feel that when a large portion of the player base pointed stuff like that out, and then again, a year later, you're saying, oh yeah, we don't want to do that. Well, then at least make the fantasy good. Like, if you're not going to sell me overpowered weapons, you're going to sell me a fantasy, at least put the fantasy into the gameplay, because I feel like I'm getting neither. So then we had him mention a message to the community.
The final one that we're going to ask before letting you get back to things is, what is one thing that you would like to share with the community?
I would want to say first that thanks for the patience as we go through these we're so back, it's so over moments. I would say that. So that's sometimes it's tough to live through that meme, but it's you know, it's clear that we sometimes mess up. I think this is part of making a live service game. I really do think that we're developing this game together with the community, and I really appreciate all the feedback that we get. It's super useful to us, and we read it all. I'll say for sometimes for you know, at our detriment, but most often it's very positive. Like, it's a very positive experience, I think, to interact with the community, and I'm looking forward to interacting with the community more, as I'm sure we will do, Sean. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So he says we take feedback and we develop the game with the community. Well, you know, what I can say is when the Force of Law Warbond came out, I pointed out it's not working as intended, and there were bugs making the stun like 4 times faster in squad play. The de-escalator was doing way more damage in squad play. And what I had said in this video, like, I mean, you can see the caption right here, solo equals bad intended stun, was as soon as you fix this bug, everybody's going to say these weapons are bad, and you're going to need to buff them. And let me just ask you, have you tried the Force of Law weapons recently? What do you think of the pacifier now? Because they fixed the bug, and they didn't buff the stun value. They fixed the bug with the de-escalator. They didn't give it a compensation buff at all, because it was not a good solo weapon, in my opinion. Now, it's like, I directly gave this feedback, and they only listened to the half of it, which was fixing the bugs. They said they slightly increased the stun values, but it just was not enough. They increased the stun value by like 20%, when it was getting 3 times the stun value in squads. And guess what? In squads where you could actually stun things in 2 bullets from the pacifier, it wasn't all that crazy. It was like, it was decent. You could actually stun things well with it, but it wasn't overpowered even. So it's like the unintended value, which was 3 times as much, wasn't even overpowered. So what do you guys think of the pacifier right now? And another thing as well is when it comes to performance, we have been way outspoken about performance since January, early this year. I've been talking about the high kill automaton guaranteed crash since Escalation of Freedom, since a year ago. I've been talking about the AI calculations update, which instantly on my old PC gave me minus 20 FPS on bots that patch. And the very first bot game I played, Crash, I gave them that feedback. So not only are they not listening to like the balance feedback, they're also not listening to the performance feedback. You know, Odo's PC just crashed yesterday, or 2 days ago. Yeah, a day or 2 ago now, where it hardlocked his PC. Now, was it specifically Helldivers that hardlocked his PC? Probably not, but I do think it probably overheated his CPU, which led to a fatal crash. And, you know, people might be wondering, like, how often are PCs actually hardlocking? How bad is the stuttering? Well, you wouldn't know if you went on Reddit. Did you know that on the main Reddit, they deleted performance posts over and over and over and said, go post them in our performance mega thread? And then they deleted the performance mega thread. Here was a post about it. The mega thread was taken down, so here's a list of ongoing issues. For those unaware, the mods tried to remove any post about ongoing and new issues in the game and tried to pile it into a mega thread, which didn't work. Understandably, it got a lot of backlash, and not even 2 days in, and now the mega thread is down. I assume it means we can post about issues now. So, where is the feedback going? And that's my problem with It's So Over, We're So Back. Because if you make the same mistakes, if you, like, I just feel like you're lying to me when I provide feedback and then you say to leave more feedback. I feel like I'm wasting my time, honestly, genuinely. So I feel like I'm being lied to. I feel like we're being gaslit. I feel like I'm being a little bit dramatic right now, but it is what it is. And so that's my take on this dev interview. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments down below. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you don't. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
One of the huge breakout successes inside of gaming, especially in terms of a very small developer. This has been massive. It's been gigantic. It's been mega.
This is insane. This game has done everything wrong, but it's still winning. In the middle of the busiest release schedule of 2025, we're talking about some of the heaviest hitters in both indie and in AAA. A little game called Mega Bonk comes out of nowhere and is sold so consistently and so regularly. It has so many players that are playing it that it is now directly competing with Borderlands 4 and Ghost of Yote. We're talking about games that have spent likely hundreds of millions of dollars just on their marketing budgets versus a game that spent literally nothing, at least from,
$50
from my perspective. This game's success is entirely organic. It's grass-fed. It's homegrown.
Good video games will succeed if you give them even a little bit of exposure. Bad video games will fail even if you show them to the whole world. This is the same with media in general.
It was relatively unknown, only had a few devlogs on YouTube. It has now become one of the most talked about and played games this year, and it hasn't stopped yet. You know, if I was working at one of these AAA companies, if I was on their board of executives, I would have a lot of questions. Because while these guys keep talking about how prices need to go up on just about everything that they have,
isn't Mega Bonk like $10?
Because you have a guy.
Well, they are. They're wasting their money. They're wasting their money on facial capture software. They're wasting their money on, well, look at the way the grass moves.
A solo developer, yet again, that made a game that's based off of memes in one of the most saturated genres in all of indie games, and he's making them look like series. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the success of Mega Bonk and how against all odds the game that did everything wrong is somehow actually doing everything right.
It's fun to play.
Why a game like this has continued to grow.
I think that one of the big reasons why a lot of the games like Mega Bonk, Vampire Survivors, Halls of Torment to a lesser extent, chapters, was it Section? Schedule 1. Why these games are so successful is they have incredibly rewarding gameplay loops. That is the commonality between every single one of these breakout success small-term games. They have a very good gameplay loop, power fantasy, and a player growth, like basically system. That's how it works.
I think
replayability.
They planned it all.
And they play very well.
But before that, this video was sponsored by boot.dev, the best way, and honestly the fastest way, that I've found to be able to learn back-end development without getting bored or giving up halfway through. I've been testing it myself.
I thought you just had AI do everything now. Wait, what do you mean?
What really sets it apart is how it feels more like a game than a course. You're not just passively watching videos, you're writing real code from the very first lesson, building projects in Python and Go, and actually preparing yourself for the kind of back-end jobs that pay well over 6 figures in the US. Boot.dev solved the hardest problem with e-learning, boredom, by, well, just making the entire thing a game, giving you XP, levels, achievements, even quests, anything to be able to keep you engaged. And even if you do get stuck, well, they have an AI wizard bear named Boots that jumps in with some Socratic-style questions to kind of guide you towards the answers rather than just handing them to you.
What I really love about their site and program is you can just create a free account, preview every single course, and read all of the content in guest mode. But if you want the real experience, the interactive coding, answer verification, progress tracking, and community boss fights, well, you want the membership. So if you're serious about learning back-end development the right way, go to boot.dev and use my code Legendary Drops to get 25% off your first entire year on an annual plan. That's boot.dev, code Legendary Drops. Link is in the description and the pinned comment. One of the things I find so fascinating about these indie success stories is how almost none of them are ever alike. Sure, they might share a genre, a theme, maybe a budget, but they almost never share the exact same set of conditions that make them blow up. Schedule One was...
I think that they do. I think that every single one of these games has a very defined, replayable gameplay loop that makes your character increasingly more powerful, that changes the way that you play the game, and they are rewarding at a very high ratio. Like in Schedule 1, you are getting reinforced and rewards all of the time. In Mega Bonk, you are getting reinforced and rewards all of the time. Vampire Stars all of the time. They are high ratio dopamine games that have a very good power structure, that have a very fast growth pattern, and they don't like kind of level off until way later on. And also another thing, somebody else brought this up too, they run on almost any PC. And this is another very big component, is that, you know, a lot of the people that are playing these games might not have access to like a really good gaming PC. They might only have a Steam Deck or like, you know, a phone. And so like anybody can play Schedule 1 and the game plays well. Anybody can play, you know, fucking, what do you call it? The new Mega Bonk and the game plays well. Not everybody can play Ghost of Yotai and the game plays well. Or at least whenever it comes out on PC, they won't be able to. PS5, it's pretty binary, right? But you're uniform, I guess you could say. But you know, with a lot of the other games, it's varying.
Passed around because it had its free demo, a absurdly long offering of over 80 hours of gameplay just in the demo alone, and the only reason people found it was because they started pushing it on streamers like Queso. Palworld was an incredibly fun game on its own, but it's over the top.
Again, hyper fast, very repetitive, like power fantasy, gameplay loop, number go up. And also every single one of these games is very much built around making the number bigger. That's it. You are making one number a bigger number.
And its controversy with Nintendo turned what could have been an obscure indie curiosity into one of the most talked about releases in the past 5 years. Balatro, Expedition 33. We can continue to go down the list, and it's going to be the same. In almost every single one of these cases, there was some strange hook, some defining trait that helped these games to rise above the rest and make traditional marketing feel entirely pointless. These games didn't succeed.
Do you see my point about how every single one of the games that he's given an example of and I've given an example of have extremely fast reward structures? They are constantly rewarding all of the time at an extremely high interval.
Despite the system, they succeeded outside of the system, reaching heights that some of the most expensive AAA releases in recent years can't even touch, even after spending hundreds of millions of dollars trying to buy the exact same attention. Which brings us to the latest success, and honestly one of the weirdest ones yet, Mega Bonk, developed by a solo dev going under the name Vetadad. For whatever reason, if you guys haven't heard of this game, it's a survivor-like that's built off the exact same formula that was popularized by Vampire Survivors, a genre that has completely flooded the indie space at this point. We are way past the point of saturation here. Every theme, every IP, every niche seems to have one of these games right now. There's Hollow Cure with its VTuber cast, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, really Heretical, which is essentially Diablo as a survivor, Halls of Torment, 20 Minutes Till Dawn. The list doesn't just end. So when I say that a game
even
like
Riot made one of these, remember? League Swarm? I played it.
Have succeeded, I mean it, because there are just so many of them out there, and while a lot of these games do just fine, true breakout success is an entirely different story when a genre is this crowded, but Mega Bonk did it. As of recording this video, Mega Bonk hit a peak of over 117,000 concurrent players on Steam, but it didn't start there. It launched at barely 3,000 players. It doubled that number the next day, then it climbed another 5,000 and 10,000 almost every single day until it broke 100,000 players. That kind of steady day-by-day growth almost never happens, and once you look into...
Well, it does. It happens with good games. It doesn't happen with bad games, but it does happen with good games.
How this game actually reached those players, it starts to make perfect sense.
Yeah.
The first thing, and probably the most obvious, is the price. Yet another game that's sitting at about $10 or less, making it easy entry point for just about...
Another thing about this game, and like the same as like Schedule 1, is that you're not locked into gameplay for a long period of time. Like a Mega Bonk session is at most probably 30 minutes, realistically, unless you're going for like a really high score and you've already put in like probably 30 hours into the game. So, like, these are very fast games that you can play for like 10 or 30 minutes, and then you're done.
But anyone, it doesn't feel like a commitment. It's cheaper than
Closer
McDonald's.
to an hour? I mean, yeah, but like, I mean, like, who's really doing hour runs in Mega Bonk? Like, the point, how many zeros after the point do you have to get to whenever you're talking about the people that are actually doing that, right? It's very, very rare.
And with it being on Steam, if you don't like it, you can just refund it.
Yeah.
Nothing here is making you feel like you're locked in, you're not married to the game, something that we cannot say for a majority of the games that have released recently. Now, on top of that, during its launch week, the developer put it on sale for $8. Imagine that. It's actually something that I've seen more and more indie games start to do lately, and it's incredibly smart. It gives people a reason to take a chance right away.
There's a back-end reason for this too, by the way, for Steam. It's kind of a boring reason, but like there's an industry reason why companies and developers do this inside of Steam. It's like a metagame thing.
Hey, why do they want to buy today? That's a question that some of these developers need to be asking themselves, especially right now when we are in the middle of a huge flood of releases, most of them $70 games with hardware prices that are skyrocketing around them. People do not have a lot of extra cash that's sitting around right now, but $8 or $10, I mean, anybody...
It's not even that people don't have a lot of cash. I think that another really big thing is that, like, I mean, look at Battlefield 6, for example. Battlefield 6 is like, isn't it like a $60 or $70 game? That's a lot of money, isn't it? But everybody's buying the game. Why is that? It's because the game's good and people like it. So really, I don't think that the 70, that's even more than 60. And it's almost twice as much more as 60, I think. I don't know about the math on that. But either way, the game is definitely expensive, right? But a lot of people bought it. It had like a player base of like over 600,000-700,000 players. It's a huge amount. And so the point that I'm making with this is that I think that price matters, but price is not a defining factor for success unless a game is vastly outpriced inside of its genre, right? Like a Metroidvania priced at $60 is going to fail, like the Prince of Persia game did, for example. But in a general sense, I think that really it's not that people don't have any money. That's also a factor, but people will find the money, like they did with Battlefield 6, if the game is worth it.
Scrape that together without
That's
a second
my opinion.
thought. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I think Mega Bonk is some revolutionary leap
They'll
forward
do the same thing with GTA 6 too.
for the survivor genre. I've been playing it. I've definitely been addicted to it. But what I think really sets this game apart is that it's fully 3D and it heavily leans into mechanics that have been ripped straight out of Risk of Rain 2, which I love, by the way, because it's a game that I have over 1,000 hours into. And, well, that also makes me realize just how dangerous it is for me to be playing a game like this. But movement and positioning play a massive role in the game. You got to think about how you're traversing the map and how your abilities work. The game heavily leans into meme culture with characters and items named things like Mega Chad, Burgos named Darth Vader. The game is just really lighthearted, absurd, and fun. And honestly, that's what sold me on the game, because there's just so many full price.
It has the energy as a game like Conker's Bad Fur Day from back in the day.
Games out right now that require 70 hours of progression even to feel like you just even started the game. They take themselves so seriously, and guys, I'm just kind of tired of it at this point. I just want something I can jump in and jump out of. I don't feel like I need to make time for it. I feel refreshed.
This is the case too, is that I think that as gaming is becoming more of a, like, gamers will always trend younger, but I think that gaming, like the age of gaming, has been going up like this, right? I don't know when it's going to plateau, but I think that, like, you know, a lot of the guys, like, let's say the average age of a gamer, like, you know, 20 years ago was like 23, right? Well, now, like, let's say it's 33. And so, because a lot of those guys that are 23 now, or 23 then, now they're 43 and they're, you know, averaging it out. And so I think that really, like, a lot of gamers will just simply get older, and as gamers get older, these more short-form experiences, I think, are going to be increasingly more valuable. And I think this short-form experience is becoming more valuable is because people don't necessarily, like, I have a lot of friends, like, they can't lock into playing a video game for like an hour because, you know, their kid might need something, or they might have a call that they need to make, or some other reason why they can't do it. And because of that, you know, any game that requires that type of gameplay is just simply not, it's not there.
After playing it, I don't need to memorize controls or mechanics, and
there's also, like, what he's saying too about this, like, I hate to pause this many times, but I feel like I have to, is that he's absolutely right, is that a lot of people have jobs that are complex. They don't want to go home and have 8 different levels of complexity added into a video game that really don't make the game better. And I think this is a big problem that I think video games are having now, is that a lot of video games add in complexity in ways that don't improve the experience. Sometimes simpler is better.
Games like this, so great because you can just learn by feeling. And
yeah,
game feel is something that's just entirely lost on this industry right now. Hell, I largely don't even need to think while I'm playing this game, but that doesn't mean
that's a requirement
that the game
for
can't
me.
Get serious. Mechanically, the game is incredibly simple, but you got to make sure that you have a solid build by the time you reach each stage's final boss. Otherwise, you're just going to get hammered. You got to have the movement nailed down. You got to have multiple layers of protection stacked up. Otherwise, you're just going to get one shot by the final boss. It's the kind of game where every single choice matters, and that gives it a very different flavor of challenge from a lot of other games in this genre. And the music, that's another thing too. Dude, the music in this game has no business going this hard. It is way too good. It is so easy to find myself just trapped in a trance, disassociating and looking up and seeing that hours have gone by.
Yeah, usually whenever I look up, it's that I'm dead. But yeah, sure.
But none of those things are why this game actually reached players. That's the foundation.
Welcome
That's the stuff that made it all possible. But what really pushed this game into the spotlight was something entirely different. See, Megabonk didn't have any traditional marketing. What it did have was a developer that was uploading their devlogs to YouTube. Actually, scratch that. There was only one devlog and a handful of YouTube shorts that completely outperformed that long-form video. These shorts were brilliant. High-colored thumbnails, bubble text pulled straight from tweets and YouTube comments, meta humor showing players asking for new mechanics and characters, and the developers showing that they were actually making it for them. Later ones started showing these players beating the developer's high score in the demo. There were other ones that were showing people breaking the game entirely with busted builds. And then there's also this mystery behind the entire thing. A lot of people believe this game was made by Danny Dev, a YouTuber that vanished about 3 years ago. The developer's name, Benedad, is literally Danny Dev spelled backwards, and the thumbnails and the editing style are almost identical to his. Whether it's actually him returning under a new name or it's somebody that just
if that's true, that would be fucking hilarious, bro. This guy went and prestiged. Yeah.
Studied his playbook. It worked.
That would be really cool.
The exact same mix of humor, creativity, and accessibility that made Danny Dev's channel blow up in the first place. And while I've been watching this entire thing, I realized what was actually happening. This, my friends, is pure, unfiltered social media marketing genius, and I love it.
Yeah.
Take a minute to think about it. Those videos that are suggesting features and then he shows that he put those features in, they invite more people to comment with their own ideas, which then boosts engagement and feeds the algorithm. The videos that are showing the leaderboards and the broken builds, that's encouraging more players to share their own footage in hopes that the developer might feature them next. It's a self-sustaining loop of curiosity and recognition. The audience is shaping the game, the developer is shaping the content, and the cycle just keeps feeding itself. They made a game for the players, and now those players are marketing that game, which means the next step was only a matter of time.
Yeah, this is very smart to do. You should always do this. Like, a lot of devs are starting to realize this, but, you know, larger studios, I think that by the time that they do it, it's going to be so fucking cringe. You're just, you don't even want to know what it is.
Streamers. Nearly every major streamer on YouTube and Twitch have been playing Megabonk, and all these guys have been addicted to it. I only found out about the game because somebody popped into my live chat and asked me if I had tried the game yet. I said that I hadn't heard about it, and they said that they had found it through those same YouTube shorts and brought it to their favorite content creator, and that's exactly how it spread. The same thing happened with Keizo, Moist Critical, Shroud, Quinn69, and eventually
something that's worth mentioning is Megabonk just feels like a game. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of video games now. This is something that's weird. I don't know if you guys kind of get the same vibe that I do, but, like, a lot of video games don't feel like games anymore. They feel like bullshit. Like, it's just bullshit. Like, oh, there's a fucking mini game to do something stupid. Or, oh, well, there's this story, like your shitty fucking story. Like, I don't want to hear about your shitty fucking story. Like, most video game stories are garbage. They're trash. They suck. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to read it. I don't want to see a cinematic. Just take me to the next fucking boss fight. Yeah, Expedition 33, mouth-washing. I can come up with some good ones, but I can also come up with a whole lot of bad ones. They're forgettable? Yeah, they're just mediocre. What are we even doing?
Gold when he came back from his break.
That's me.
Glad to see that guy's doing all right, by the way.
Look at me.
Once those streamers got it into their hands, visibility hit critical mass. Each new creator that picked up the game brought in more players, and the numbers just kept climbing from there. And now this loops us all the way back to gameplay, because remember what I said earlier, it's the foundation, not the catalyst. Mega Bonk has insane replayability. Each level is broken up into 3 different areas. Those 3 areas have 3 difficulty tiers: challenges, quests, unlockable items, characters, weapons, tomes, skins, maps, secrets. It's stacked with a ton of different content. Combine that with how fun the game is and how mechanically satisfying it is.
I think also giving people like a checklist of things to do. The reason why the checklists work in some games and not other games is that they feel good to accomplish. And like, I don't know, like this is going to be like a very, very narrow World of Warcraft example. But in World of Warcraft, there used to be like achievements for every raid where it was like in Ulduar, for example, okay, well, you have to kill, there's like a big guy and a little guy, and the big guy is really hard, and there's the little guy that's easier. And so, like, there's an achievement where it's like you have to kill the little guy first and the big guy second because, you know, usually you'd do it the opposite way, right? Like, just theoretically. I'm thinking of, like, you know, like the fucking, the 3 Iron Council guys, right? And so, like, there were all these, like, different achievements that were for playing the boss and doing the boss differently. And achievements in the game in general were always something that was unique, right? Where it was like, okay, well, you know, go and fight this boss with like this, you know, restriction or something like that. But then as time went on, achievements became more like do 2,000 pet battles, do 10,000 daily quests. And achievements became just like these weird, just like very, very long form, like tally boards for like how much of my life have I been wasting. And that was one of the reasons why I kind of like lost interest with like farming and doing a lot of achievements, because they just became effectively participation rewards. They were no longer interesting. There was no longer like a strategy that you would have other than how can I just repeat the same activity over and over. And I think that a lot of video games, like they basically, they create content by just adding a 0 next to whatever your goal is, right? So instead of getting 1 of these things, you have to get 10 of them. Instead of getting 10 of them, you have to get 100. You're playing a gacha game, instead of getting 100, now you've got to get 1,000. And that doesn't really improve the game. It doesn't really make the game any better. Just because you make something take longer to get doesn't make it feel any better or worse. Like, a great example of this is like in Metaphor Refantasio. So you can fight a dragon like right after you beat like one of the earliest like kind of challenging bosses, right? And you can choose to fight this dragon or not. And if you kill the dragon, you immediately get a weapon that turns your attacks into fire damage, and it's a very, very good sword. It'll be a good sword for a long period of time in the game. And you don't need to like farm for this. You don't need to like spend a lot of time doing this. You just have to beat the dragon and get the item. And I think that there's a lot of people that, you know, like a lot of the Mega Bonk rewards, for example, like each of the different goals that you have to have, they're not ridiculous goals. They're just like, okay, kill 1,500 mobs or 15,000 mobs, which in this game is super fast. So they're not these like super hyper long form achievements and goals that just waste your time arbitrarily. And I think that's one of the big issues that developers have, is that they see players like checklists, and so they add checklists, but they don't understand like the psychology behind it. They only understand the thing itself.
To play, and now you have something that's hooking in players for weeks.
It's like a great example is that, have you ever played a video game and you loot like a little knickknack and it says 1 of 574, and you're like,
so as visibility grew, the new players weren't dropping in and leaving. They were staying. They were playing daily, sharing clips, streaming it, and that created this cycle of growth that just built upon itself.
Yeah, a little
perfect
bit, right?
Storm of fun gameplay, streamer exposure, and social media momentum. Something that the rest of this industry desperately needs to learn from, but they likely won't. out of the huge slate of AAA games and just games in general that we've seen released over the past couple of months, I have played Borderlands 4, Hades 2, and Silksong. And after playing Borderlands 4, I felt like I needed to take a week-long break before I even tried to dip a toe into playing Dying Light 2. And while there are AAA games that I like, right now I'm in the mode of I've seen it, I've been there, I've done that. I've heard this story before, and there is just so much time commitment and so much time between when I can actually get to the content, the heart of the actual experience, that it just makes me go, no, I'm just really not that into it. I want a digestible game. And Megabong, that's a digestible game. I think there's something to it.
I think a lot of people are looking for something that's simplistic and easy to understand. Oh, and like really, you go back and you look at a lot of the old arcade video games, they're very simple and easy to understand. Like, you know, fucking any of them are simple.
I think it's not that there's too much or too little content with some of these games. I think it's the speed and the frequency in which you can actually reach the content and how quickly you can actually enjoy it.
Exactly.
That's how you keep people playing your games. That's how you keep people talking about your games. You know, this entire first week that I've seen of Ghost of Yotei being up and around, a lot of people are just sharing how pretty the game is. And while you can definitely sell copies based on how pretty something is, especially in the case of Ghost of Yotei,
who cares?
A lot of people are waiting on the content. And the longer it takes to get to the content, the less interested people are going to be in the game. The less it's going to be a part of the discussion. And that's exactly how you lose momentum.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is that, like, really, I mean, the way the game looks is nice, but it doesn't really make a big difference. I don't think it would really matter.
The marketing for this game is just genius. That's all it is. This developer knew exactly what they were doing. The minute they saw those YouTube shorts take off, they abandoned the long-form videos. They focused directly on that. They answered player feedback directly. They implemented their changes into the game. So when the players finally got their hands on the game, they got exactly what they had asked for. And people love to talk about getting exactly what they want. That's like 90% of social media today. It's people that are
complaining about not getting
exactly
something.
what they want, or being mad that they aren't getting what they want. If you tap into that, you're going to find success.
He's very right.
I think that's the best part of it, because when a game pops off like this, the players aren't just playing it, they're sharing it, they're clipping it.
Exactly. Yeah, if you have a game, like, for example, like, there's been a number of games I've told my friends, they're like, what game should I play? Like, right now, like, what would I recommend? Expedition 33. If you haven't played that one, you should play that one. That's the game. And if you want a cheap game, something like Megabonk. That's it.
Talking about it because it's theirs. They own it. That's not marketing. That is just organic momentum. That is
Digimon,
interest, real interest, and that's something that you just can't buy. And that's something that
Power
AAA
was another one.
Keeps trying to do.
Marvel Rivals.
One of the things that I think really helps sell these recent indie successes is the genuine desire to be a part of something that is real. Players want to be in on it early. They want to be the first ones to find out about the next hit surprise before anybody else does.
Well, they also, like, it feels good to play a game that everybody on the internet is excited about, and there's, like, enthusiasm around the game. I think that's another really big component. People like being part of that kind of community.
And form around that, and there's something patently authentic about that experience, almost nostalgic, like the days of midnight launches or meeting friends in line while you're waiting for a game that you're all excited about. It's the same feeling of shared discovery, of genuine excitement, and it's something that you cannot manufacture, though many of publishers are trying to do so right now. Something that is not necessarily new but feels more blatant than ever is how inauthentic the excitement around certain games have become. Take the upcoming Call of Duty Black Ops 7. The hype behind this game feels entirely forced.
It's awful. And the reason why, like, another good example is like Blue Protocol. Like, they paid so many streamers to play this game. It's not gonna matter, guys. You should have fixed the game. That's what you should have done. Like, you can't manufacture excitement like this. It just doesn't work.
Especially from content creators and the marketing itself. And I'm not talking about paid sponsorships or brand deals or even talking money under the table. I'm just talking about being performative. I mean, how is anybody supposed to take any of this enthusiasm seriously when we're talking about a series that has spent years now eroding player trust. This franchise has been slop farming its audience for over a decade. The trailer has over 500,000 dislikes on...
Oh my god! I never even saw this. This is awful. It's that bad? Holy shit! We're excited for Arc Raiders. Why are women talking about a man game? That's true. You should have, the thing is that, no, you're right. Why do you have a bunch of middle-aged women talking about Call of Duty? What are we doing? What are you, retarded? The fuck? This is like having me talk about Animal Crossing. Nobody wants to see that. The fuck out of here.
YouTube. Yet we have content creators and Activision that are both trying to desperately convince everybody that this is somehow the best Call of Duty ever. Everywhere I look right now, I'm seeing videos and posts that are trying to convince players that Battlefield 6 won't last, that Call of Duty deserves another chance, that it will finally be different, guys.
Oh, man. That sure reminds me of something.
These guys need a hotline is what they need. But what we're seeing here is fear. It's a collision of circumstances where longtime creators who have built their platforms around this series need it to be able to stay relevant, while Activision is genuinely threatened by real competition. Black Ops 6 is at its lowest player count.
This is also one thing that I think is true. It's always really funny for me to see this about like content creators for certain games that are so afraid of their game dying, they'll lie to their audience about it being good. Like, I think WoW streamers have this for sure. Because, like, a lot of these WoW content creators are just the most boring, like, just voids of charisma that you could ever imagine. Like, nobody would want to watch them play anything else. And that's why, you know, if they have, like, let's say 300 viewers playing WoW, they'll play something else and they'll go down to, like, 23.
Allons vers trompette.
Prête à frapper fort. Oh, Gustave.
magie. Tout le monde a son maillot de bain.
through right now is the gradient counter and how you can execute this correctly. Some of the enemies have a more tight window than others, so the tutorial doesn't really show you how to actually execute it correctly.
A storm is coming. I'm waiting.
Luna, careful.
Try me.
Okay, so I've got one more round of attacks, and then there will be the gradient counter. This enemy jumps up, and it will go through the gradient animation. As soon as it ends, parry. Up, and it will go through the gradient animation. As soon as it ends, parry. Perfect.
Hi everyone, this video talk about gradient attacks in Clear Obscure Expedition 33. What they are, how to use them, and other tips that you might find. Or trigger at the right time to block. You can actually see it now, execute the gradient attack, and now we can actually, if I do it the right time, I perform a gradient counter.
Get ready.
Now you also have for Mael thing that allows her to basically get an extra gradient charge when she actually do the gradient counter, so she gets a bit there. Now any build can be supported with this, but sometimes people create build just for for it because again it's just so powerful. Especially the Gomage was able to eliminate enemies like I think like 25% of their health left and just eliminated them. Just so powerful. So let me show you some useful pictos to use. Breaking Death, fully charge any break bar on Death. And you can also go with Death Bomb and Auto Death because you can just get some synergies that will just give you the extra just by starting the fight and dying and reviving. Because by doing so we also have things that apply buff to allies and ourselves, and basically this give us the so we also have things that apply buff to allies and ourselves, and basically this give us the extra charge as well. Auto Death, I'm going to apply buffs on me because also there's synergy that gives me extra charges when I buff myself. I'll show in a moment.
I see. That's how it is. It's tight. about.
Ton existence s'achève maintenant. À mon tour. J'aurais survécu. Vas-y, essaie pour voir. C'est le moment que je préfère. Ça, c'est de l'amour. Ça va déjà mieux. J'aurais survécu. Excellent. Violence. Ça va déjà mieux. C'est le moment de frapper. J'aurais survécu.
Attention, il génère de la chroma.
choisir. Violence. À mon tour.
$100K. Oh my god. 50 franc, motherfucker. 50 franc.
Se battre, y'a que ça de vrai. Prêt à frapper. C'est le moment de frapper. Ça va déjà bien.
Ito savadin gaubaka kiki votura kimasano vero ano bivotu.
T'en tireras pas. J'aurais survécu. C'est tout sauf impressionnant. À mon tour.
Flying uppercut, hein.
Bon, tant pis.
Mi bom, no la quena colorito. Dina cat.
un chemin.
Prête à parer.
La douce odeur du combat.
Ah.
Vous n'en avez pas vraiment besoin. Tiens-toi prêt, Monoko. Vas-y, essaie de voir. Montre-moi ce que tu sais faire. En pleine forme. Tu ne t'en tireras pas. C'est le moment de partir. À toi de briller. Frayons-nous un chemin. J'aurais survécu. Ça va saigner.
Hargrex. Welcome to my channel.
Bam!
Best viewers on Streambu or remove the spaced xpbus.
Frayons-nous un chemin. Excellent. Ah, wow!
Finesse et grâce.
Quel joli pied.
Va, Monoko. Sur moi. Ah, va, Monoko. En garde.
Mursz!
C'est un avantage.
Speed critical.
survécu. Excellent.
T'en tireras pas. On n'avait pas vraiment besoin. J'aurais survécu.
Prête à parer.
En pleine forme. Tu t'en tireras pas. J'en avais pas vraiment besoin. J'aurais survécu. J'aurais survécu.
Prête à parer.
Appréciable.
En défense. Dansons.
Attention. Tu t'en tireras pas. J'aurais survécu.
Prête à parer.
Pleine forme.
En garde.
My power is out. I gotta turn off my PC.